This video was sponsored by SolidWorks. This is the world's largest RC aircraft carrier, the biggest project that I've ever built, and one that has taken me many months of planning and building to get to a point where I can line RC aeroplanes up on the deck, launch them into the sky, and then attempt to land them safely without ditching in the water, all while using an array of cool technology and features to make it easier, such as using a camera in each plane that can stream video back to a pair of goggles so I can see exactly what the planes see. Since flying remote control planes as a kid, I always thought the ultimate challenge and the coolest thing ever would be to build a huge model aircraft carrier to launch RC planes from one day. So recently I decided that now was the time to have a crack at this. And the first problem was coming up with a practical and simple design. So I started by sketching out some ideas on SolidWorks and then designed some more detailed models using exploded views to see exactly how I was going to build this massive ship. I also collaborated with the SolidWorks team over in the US to design the final model, using the 3D Experience platform, which allowed us to complete design reviews across time zones, all while working on the same model data without sending copies via email, which was really helpful. The carrier would need to be simple to make, so it would be constructed much like a giant box with a flat bottom. With a flat-bottomed hull design like this, it should be really easy to build, and it should be very stable on a flat lake, which is what we're going to be testing this thing out on. It will have a shallow draft, being flat bottomed, which means that it will sit quite high in the water, and that means that it will be quite practical for the shallower bits of the lake. I would need to scale the carrier to fit full-size remote control planes made by E-Flight, kindly donated by the people at Horizon Hobby for this project. Although I'd seen a few RC aircraft carriers online, my ship would be much larger, carrying much more complicated aircraft that would have to take off and land just like the real thing. Laying out flexible sketches allowed me to tweak the hull design to the right size in SolidWorks to scale the carrier around these planes. And with that, I had a 5-meter long RC aircraft carrier with a deck that was 1.8 meters wide, which was the maximum size I could fit on a trailer. Would this be big enough to take off and land on though? The next thing to do was to start building, but what material would I be constructing the boat from? I decided on using foam, which is the same material I built my jet turbine powered hovercraft from for its lightweight and buoyant properties. I laid down the bottom of the boat and cut it to shape. I used wood glue to stick the foam together, which took a while to dry, but being made from polyvinyl acetate, this wood glue makes for a seriously strong bond with the polystyrene sheets. With this project, I needed help every step of the way, so I drafted in my friend Mike to assist with painting glue over all of the joints to make sure they were extra strong, which was a bit of a messy job.
What have you done?
You might be wondering though, how were we going to get all of this through the door? Well, we'd made the whole ship to be modular at this point, so I could build each section before carrying it out of the nice, convenient, warm workshop into a much larger open space to glue each section together. Well, we've got all of the modules in place now, so I can stick them all together and then start on the flight deck with this plywood over here. Next, I drafted in another friend, Sam, to help with adding expanding foam along the inner seams, which would make the giant model ship much more watertight. And then it was time to start cutting the deck sheets to size. With the deck temporarily mocked up in place, the project was coming together, and the 3D model I designed in SolidWorks was now fast coming to life in the form of a mighty impressive ship on the workshop floor. Even though this boat is the largest project to date on the channel, it was starting to look quite small for these RC planes. Would I actually be able to land anything on the deck? It was time to do some pilot training. We headed up to the ProjectAir flying field and set up a tarpaulin that would act as a target. Despite many years of flying planes, did I have the skills to land on such a small runway? This is 5 meters by 1.8 meters, and it looks very small. Chocks away! If we couldn't nail this, the whole project wasn't going to look that doable. Right, let's come in for our first attempt. I was way further away than I thought I was. It's difficult to judge the distance. Okay, using the rudder, grab it in. Oh! After about 20 landing attempts, I was starting to improve. That was with the beginner plane though. How would I fare with some more advanced aircraft? Oh! This is going to be really difficult. This one is going to be a bit trickier to fly because it's a bit faster and more manoeuvrable. However, that might actually help us because we might be able to do some sort of crabbing manoeuvres to slow ourselves down when we get to the carrier. But
we are yet to see. Clear for landing. Oh God. Came in a bit short there. Oh dear.
The problem was getting lined up from the ground, as I was finding it difficult to judge depth. Standing directly in front of the target helped, but not that much.
Oh! Oh no! Whoa. Oh!
Hey, you're on.
I'm on the deck. Don't know if the pilot would survive that. Is he alive? Is the pilot alive? He's all right, we're good.
It probably wouldn't be possible for me to get as good a vantage point as this, so maybe I'd have to come up with a different solution. I realised I needed a bit more help with this, so I called up someone who had exactly the right credentials to give me some advice.
Everyone has experience like, did I just get worse at landing? Like, what happened? And then you realize like, no, now we're aiming for a spot that's like 6 feet front to back with this jet.
This is Brendan, a US Navy fighter pilot, currently in training, who is at the moment learning precisely what I'm trying to do. We discussed the idea of using FPV cameras in each plane to help with getting the right perspective for landing. FPV cameras can transmit video signals to a headset so that the wearer can see what the camera sees in real time.
I had the thought that you might actually be best served doing a sort of team the same way that the Navy does with a landing signal officer of your own.
Right.
Have that person sitting next to you telling you low, high, come left, come right,
Yeah.
while you are still doing your best from FPV just to aim and taking that input. If you manage not to put any of the planes into the water so you don't break anything, I think you've got basically like 99% chance. I think you can do it.
That's good.
If you manage to plop all 3 of them into the back of the boat and they're broken, then
yeah. With a few more ideas, I could get to work on modifying the planes to be decked out with their FPV systems, which would hopefully make the job of landing them much easier. Meanwhile, with the giant foam boat build, we found we had a big problem on our hands. The boat wasn't actually that strong, and we were worried that it wouldn't actually survive the journey to the lake. This was all quite worrying, and the whole project looked like it was on the rocks. The decision was made to cover the entire boat in fiberglass, which would make it much stronger and much more watertight. This seems like a simple solution, right? But the problem was this. None of us had ever done any fiberglassing before, and certainly never on a scale quite like this. So we would be in for quite the learning curve.
It's extremely stressful. We've been going at this for ages now, and we're not really sure whether it's going to work or not.
What we were doing here is called fiberglass skinning. How it works is that you first lay a coat of epoxy resin down over the entirety of the boat, before then positioning fiberglass fabric and sort of sticking it down on the top. Then this is gone over with another coat of resin. The stressful part of this was we didn't know if we had enough epoxy resin to cover the entire hull. And we also had to keep mixing batches every 5 minutes as the resin would set in the pots due to its strong exothermic reaction. Thankfully, it all ended up just fine, and we eventually had a strong shell over the entire hull of the boat.
Feels very strong now. Well, we've built a boat. Look at this. That looks really good, doesn't it?
Despite this, we'd been set back a good week or so behind schedule. While the fiberglass cured and the paint dried, we could again turn our attention to the aircraft. At this time, we were all starting to get really excited about the project, and so were E-Flight, who kindly sent over some more planes to bolster the carrier's complement, 2 of which even had retractable undercarriages.
Yes, that's a bit better, isn't it? Very cool. Yeah.
These would be much more advanced aircraft, and the large F4U Corsair was especially impressive.
Just noticed this guy here already looks absolutely terrifying. He looks like he's just about to die.
I fitted FPV cameras to the new planes, and also took the opportunity to waterproof the electronics to make sure that any splash landings were more survivable. Now I could do some more practicing with the FPV to see if it would make hitting the tarpaulin a bit easier. And let's just say it was still quite tricky.
Oh God. This is going to be even more of a challenge because we're actually at a different location with shorter grass, but we've got some shrubbery which is sort of going to be another obstacle to avoid.
So I definitely needed to keep practicing over the next couple of weeks. Now the paint on the hull was dry, we could fit the ship out with its deck. With this, the whole structure became super rigid, and it was all starting to come together. So it was only right that we did a quick taxi test with an RC jet.
Almost went off. Don't think I would have got a takeoff speed there. Oh yeah, we're gonna be fine. With a ski jump, that's gonna take off, no problem.
Moving on to the electronics, how would we actually propel this boat though? I bought a cheap outboard motor from Amazon. I wouldn't need it to be too powerful, so this motor was simply hooked up to a 12-volt car battery. Mike and Sam wired all of this up so you could throttle the motor up or down using the radio control transmitter, so we could make this ship a true RC aircraft carrier that could be sailed remotely all over the lake.
Way.
Now it was on to the final stretch of the build.
Ahoy!
One final job was to work on solving a key problem that was essential to get right if we had any chance of getting these planes back. You might have been wondering, how will the planes stop when they hit the deck? And that's a very good question. Real aircraft carriers have wires that go across the deck, which are called Arrestor wires, and these are caught by hooks on the tail of landing aircraft, which slows them down. I made some hooks of my own from bits of wire I had lying around, and made sure to securely fix these to each aircraft. These would snag on strings fixed across the deck.
Not sure if this is going to work, but it's worth a try.
As an extra safety measure, we left a plank of wood glued across the very end of the deck so that any planes that missed the wires might bounce back if they went over this way. But ideally, they could just go off the ski jump again and do a simple touch and go. This was all theory though at this point, and we'd have to wait and see whether it would all work. After 4 weeks of solid building, fiberglassing and painting, the world's largest RC aircraft carrier was finally ready for action. Planes were prepared, gear organised, and willing volunteers rallied for the largest, most ambitious and most complicated project I'd taken on so far.
Right, well, it's finally finished, and I'm really pleased with how it's all turned out. We've now finished all of the details. We've got the ski jump on the end here. We also have a big control tower. That's just a load of foam board that I glued together with hot glue. It's built around a wooden frame, so it should be quite strong if an aeroplane does happen to smash into it, because as we know, that is a big risk. At the rear, we've got the arresting wires, and these are just bits of string. Is this all going to work? Don't know. There are many unknowns, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
We needed a super still day with zero rain to be in with the best shot of successfully sailing this carrier. Days turned into weeks waiting for the right weather, but finally the day came, so it was off to Rudyard Lake where the Rangers had given us permission to test the aircraft carrier and launch the planes. Right, just before all of this testing and everything that I'm about to show you, I just wanted to say a very big thank you to the sponsor of this week's video, SolidWorks, who have really helped to make this whole project possible in more ways than one. As shown earlier, I designed the boat in SolidWorks, and many of the 3D printed parts as well. And as you can probably imagine, SolidWorks might be perfect for your projects too. What's really cool is that SolidWorks is now providing a special software for makers with professional grade tools for your hobbies and personal projects, and it's just $99 a year or $9.99 a month. For this, you'll get both their locally installed and online design software that will help you to create anything that you can imagine, with online tools for designing, fabricating, rendering, and much more. There's also an active online design community where you can connect with fellow makers, share your work, learn, and get inspired. As you explore the maker offer, you'll have access to a dedicated online support community to help with any questions you may have. Please note that 3D Experience SolidWorks for makers is not for commercial use though, and is limited to a maximum of $2,000 profit per year. Elevate your maker game on your terms without compromise and within your means. Make sure to check out the links in the description to learn more about the maker offer and also get 20% off. And now, back to the lake. The weather was absolutely ideal and spirits were high, so we cracked on with getting the boat set up with its battery, motor and controls, while the rest of the team got familiar with their roles. Finn was in charge of the powerboat, and as you'll see, this would come in helpful later on. And my dad came along to lend a general helping hand.
Nobody panic!
With such a big project like this, there are always 100 things that can go wrong, and even before getting on the water, we'd had our first near miss.
The whole of the motor just fell off. But it was thankfully held on by this push rod, which hopefully hasn't broken the servo, otherwise we'll be in big trouble.
After being briefed by Ray the Ranger to watch out for the local rowing team, it was finally time to see if the mighty ship would float.
Right. Ahoy! Safe travels to all who sail in this vessel. There we go. Hey! Let's go. Hey! He floats!
Awesome. With this first critical threshold point of the day passed, we could tie the ship to the dock and get ready for its first voyage under its own power.
The plan is to, first of all, get this thing to do a few sea trials to see how manoeuvrable it is in this area around here. After that, we're going to take it on its first excursion to launch and land some aeroplanes.
But at this point, I'd found that we had a bit of a problem as the propeller was a little too high out of the water. And this was because the draft of the boat was even shallower than expected.
Just need to get this. Do you know where that screwdriver is? The drill?
I've got the difficult job, I'm holding the boat.
With this quickly remedied, we were now ready to do our first test.
Don't know why we're at half mast. What does that mean? Keep slipping down. First aircraft to take off is going to be the drone. We're going to obviously have to put that on the deck to take off. Oh, the aircraft carrier works. Hey! Hooray! Okay, casting off. Yes! It works! Oh, I'm so pleased. This has taken so long to build. Look at that, beautiful.
After so much hard work, it was amazing to see it all paying off. And as a bonus, the carrier was actually quite easy to control.
All right, I'm going to swing it around. I don't know if anyone said that about an aircraft carrier before. I can't believe this is working so well. Oh, hang on, it's all right, I've got it. Hey, first voyage success.
And now for the first aircraft landing of the day.
Oh, perfect. Right on the deck.
But I had a feeling that this one would be a heck of a lot easier than the ones that we would attempt later on.
How do you feel it's gone so far?
It's going fine. It does feel like it's drifting a little with the breeze. So, well, that's what I've just felt now. But it seems, yeah, we have enough power to overcome it. Almost fell in then. But yes, so it's all going well at the moment. I'm a bit nervous about later when we start putting the aeroplanes on it though.
Of course, I had to see how stable the aircraft carrier was, with some added payload. As I was enjoying the ride though, I got a bit carried away and drifted into some parked rowing boats.
You grab the hook and pull me out.
Thankfully, no harm done, and I was back on my way, only receiving a few funny looks from the locals. Now mid-morning, the wind was getting up and we were keen to crack on with the main event, the RC plane flights. So we loaded 3 planes chosen for the first mission safely onto the deck and tied them down to avoid any going overboard. With her engine at full ahead, the mighty aircraft carrier charged forwards into uncharted waters, with myself, Finn and chief videographer Hannah in the pursuit boat.
Isn't that cool? Full ahead!
I'd been a little concerned about the wind, but with the bow pointing up the lake, it was smooth sailing and we were well on our way to our first test point.
That yellow plane looks like it's about to fall off the deck, which isn't great because it's my favourite one and I think it's probably the one with the most chance of landing. So if we lose that one before we even start trying to fly the planes off the deck, then it's not made it any easier for us.
Thankfully, the string tied to the T-28's undercarriage held fast, and we continued the journey right up to the point that a gust of wind
Emergency!
caught the side of the aircraft carrier, and it all started to go a bit sideways, literally.
Oh God.
After that slight deviation to proceedings, we now decided to take some preventative measures.
Stringer's taken over. We decided that it was easier to do this rather than fight the wind for the moment.
Watched by some intrigued onlookers, we moored up at a small beach that would become our base for the next couple of hours, and got to work setting up the aeroplanes for their first perilous missions that could very well also be their last.
Big shout out to all of my Patreons, by the way. Some of their names are on the sides of each plane, so thank you very much to these people and all of my Patreons for making this sort of thing happen. If you want to sign up, there's a link in the description.
I had over 10 years experience flying all sorts of model aircraft in all sorts of environments, but this would definitely be the most demanding and difficult flight yet.
Good luck. Thank you. Cheerio. Let's go.
Flying from an aircraft carrier is one of the most difficult tasks for a pilot. So would I be able to do it as an RC pilot?
I've been waiting for this moment for about 3 or 4 months now. And now it all comes down to my flying skills. I've been practicing, but will it be enough? Don't know. We'll see.
Even getting the plane onto the deck was a bit of a challenge.
I'm ready.
I might have to actually climb onto the thing. If I push it back. Hang on, I need to get around here. Ready? Yep, ready. Go.
With the team ready, my spotters beside me, and most of the lake watching, it was all down to me. Would the plane even get airborne? Or would this all be an embarrassing disaster?
Going for launch. Clear for takeoff. Yes! Oh, look at that! It worked!
Success! The Aeroscout made it look easy. Going FPV, it was now over to my spotters to keep me informed about where I was and how I was looking as I started to practice my approaches for landing.
Now I'm just using the throttle to modulate ourselves towards the deck. Oh!
Missed it! Duck!
How did that look?
That looked great.
Did it look good?
It looked good.
Okay.
We had one big issue though. The aircraft carrier kept rotating suddenly and drifting while we sat stationary in the water.
I can hardly see it, it's so bright.
Oh!
Square is the deck.
Not very square. Abort.
Thankfully, some quick thinking from Finn fixed this as he drove our escort boat forward slowly, pulling the aircraft carrier straight. I now found I had another potentially more mission critical issue though, as from my perspective I could hardly see the aircraft carrier while I was coming in to land, due to the glare of the sun reflecting off the water. When I got closer though, the aircraft carrier came into view, but I definitely needed my landing signal officer, Hannah, to call out my position relative to the deck, just as is the procedure on real aircraft carriers, as Brendan had told me. And through working together, we were getting closer.
Come to your left a little bit. Yep. Right. Left. Left. Oh! Quick! Abort. Abort.
A successful landing was getting closer, but the battery on the plane was running low, and one wrong move could spell disaster. But with gentle stick movements and a calm head, I did my best to guide in the plane from the FPV feed, whilst Hannah called out directions. Would this time be it, or would it all go wrong?
This looks promising. To left. Left, a bit more left. Looking good, looking good. Left, 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 left. Right. Oh, I think. Yes! No, abort! Ah! Yes!
Yes! I was fully expecting just to see the water then. On the goggles, I just expected to see it all. Victorious!
Woo!
Well done. Oh, we did it!
Somehow the plane had bounced off the plank of wood glued along the edge of the deck, after missing the Arrestor wires. So that had been quite a good idea in hindsight.
Well done to Andre for his victorious plane landing on the deck. So yeah, really pleased with that. Let's go with the next one.
Next was the T-28's turn, which had a cockpit-mounted FPV camera, rather than this camera being right in the nose, like with the previous aircraft. This would make things a little more interesting, as I'd have more of a realistic, but a very much obscured view. To add to the pressure of pulling off another takeoff and landing, now we had quite the crowd gathered under the trees on the eastern shore, keen to see some more model plane action.
Taking off! There we go!
The ski jump was doing its job, and another plane was up in the air safely and ready to patrol the lake. With my goggles on, I could weave the plane between the trees either side of the lake and start to line up for another landing. However, the wind had now increased and I was finding the turbulence from the trees to be quite strong. I came in for a few wobbly practice runs, but my view from the cockpit was rather poor, to say the least.
Looking great. Good. Bit higher, bit higher. Oh yeah, abort.
Again coming in for another pass, I had to fight the wind and spot the carrier through the glare of the sun reflecting off the water. What was worse, as I set my angle of attack for landing, I kept losing sight of the carrier as the nose of the T-28 blocked my view, meaning that I was now almost entirely relying on my spotter for direction. With battery levels running near empty, I got my plane lined up on a very low approach and made a last-ditch effort to land.
To right, abort, you're in the water. Abort, up. Oh,
Oh no!
So the plane was down and would probably be needing some repairs.
Well, that was a lot more difficult than the previous attempt with the Aero Scout. Turns out that not being able to see properly with the cockpit in the way makes a big difference.
That was a very sad end to our T-28. After this failed landing, I was now appreciating the immense skill and precision of real Navy pilots more than ever. I did have another chance though, and I could still get 2 out of 3 if I could land our final plane, which would be the most advanced yet, with flaps and retractable undercarriage. No pressure then.
Okay, third and final one of the day. Let's see if we can land a Warbird on the deck of this aircraft carrier. We've got a Corsair over here. It's way more advanced than any of the other planes that I've flown so far. You can also see far less through the FPV camera, and I've never flown it before. So what could go wrong?
Would I even get the Warbird in the air? How would it deal with the ski jump without a nose wheel? Would it all go wrong immediately? Or would I pull off a miracle and actually get this thing down in one piece?
Okay, control check. All clear for takeoff.
Somehow, after the most sketchy takeoff of my life, the Corsair was up and safely circling the lake. Although coming within mere inches of the water with that wingtip, we'd now somehow managed to successfully launch 3 out of the 3 planes, and things were looking good. With the gear and flaps in their retracted positions, the Warbird was handling beautifully. However, the view from the cockpit on this aircraft was even worse than with the previous plane. So I made the call to fly this mission line of sight, which would mean watching the plane in third person, just like on my initial tests at the flying field, and we all know how difficult I found that. Now I was bobbing up and down next to the carrier, and it took a massive amount of concentration to line up. With a few practice runs, I got the undercarriage down and the flaps set for landing.
Abort!
Somehow that first attempt had looked very good, but one wrong move of the sticks could spell disaster, and this plane could be written off in seconds. Would I be able to make it on the next go? This time I was a little high and was forced to wave off for another attempt. It was looking very unlikely, but I had to give it a go. Could I keep this plane from meeting a watery grave? Would it be smashed to pieces on the deck? Or could I pull it off and stick the landing? It was all down to me.
We've got a Corsair on the deck! A Corsair on the deck! Oh my goodness me! How did that happen?
Unbelievably, the Corsair had survived after bouncing off the tower and landing in the Arrestor wires. Not conventional, but it had worked.
High five! High five! Woo! Take off again.
2 out of the 3 planes had landed, with all 3 successfully launching from the deck. What a result.
Yes! Woohoo! I can't believe that we pulled that off. Oh, to have this idea and then it actually work, that's amazing.
As we sailed back to port, I was reminded that in life, you sometimes have to aim big and be ambitious, and that way some really cool things can happen. In the end, with some hard work and a lot of help from your friends, it's possible to turn your long-held dreams into a reality and get to a point when you stick the landing of an RC plane on the world's largest RC aircraft carrier. Twice. This was the biggest video I've ever done on the channel, and I really enjoyed every single second of it, apart from the fiberglassing. That was a bit of a pain, actually. So if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see me building more things like this aircraft carrier, then subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. And that way you'll be supporting ProjectAir and helping get this video out to more people. Of course, I should say another huge thank you to my sponsor SolidWorks for supporting this entire project and making the whole thing possible. You can check out the maker offer down below and get 20% off. Thanks to all of these extra people as well for making the whole thing possible. It's been a massively difficult thing to pull off, but I think we just about got there in the end. And thank you for watching. If you want to check out more stuff about the channel, if you want to get more involved with what I do and all of these projects and everything, then check out my website, www.projectair.co.uk, where you can find plans and instructions for making your own projects. And if you've got to the very end of this video and you want to watch another one because you like them so much, here's one right here. So I'll see you on this video. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you on the next big project, I hope. See you later. Bye.